To Unity of Flagstaff, all you folks out there that watch us, and we've got them, and it's increasing every day. How fun is that? I had a great church experience growing up. I had two choices in my little hometown. I could go to the United Methodist Church, or I could go to the Free Methodist Church, and I chose the United Methodist Church because it had the best youth group, and I could get there on my dirt bike. So I was blessed. I was blessed. So I want to acknowledge also Miss Josie. This was her first day as a platform assistant. Really?
Yeah.
I love that energy in this community. I love seeing that happen. And you know what else? I didn't touch one chair today. I didn't set up one table. I didn't labor at all on Labor Day weekend. I love the way that feels in this community. That's just not chairs and tables, folks. That's consciousness. So thank you. Thank you to all our amazing musicians. Okay, I've stalled long enough. Sincerely though, I do love the consciousness and what I feel in this community when it comes to our volunteerism, which really fits right in with Labor Day in reality. The history that Josie shared isn't always so pleasant. It's a little bleak when we talk about Labor Day if we really think about what it is. I was a little shocked myself to find out it wasn't about picnics and coolers and umbrellas. And those are all great things also. And I am grateful that we get to celebrate more of that in today's world. You know what they say, the first 5 days of the weekend are the hardest. And it's all God's work. Sometimes it's harder than others, isn't it? Labor Day 2019 is on Monday, tomorrow, September 2nd. And as Josie shared with us, it is a tribute to the contributions and achievements of the American workforce. We celebrate Labor Day weekend this week and its rich history. The pain, the growth, the learning, the effort. Now, I got a little tripped up about 4 o'clock this morning trying to remember what that has to do with the spiritual teaching. But it was 4 o'clock, so I had lots of time. I think God is on daylight savings time and I'm not, or something like that. But I was getting a little tripped up because I thought, well, it's only appropriate to talk about Labor Day on Labor Day weekend. But how does that integrate with our spiritual work? So I started sitting with that concept at about 4:15 a.m. because I thought I knew where this talk was going on Wednesday. It went there, and then it went away. And then it came back. So we'll see where we end up. Labor Day reminds us that energy does not go unnoticed or unrecognized by the universe. When you think of the chair you're sitting on, the floor that chair is on, the roof above your head, it took labor to put all of that right here in this space. Think about this space. Just look at this space and the labor that went into it. Now remember, I didn't touch one chair this morning, and I am grateful for that. But it takes effort. And we have a couple of choices. How do we want that work to show up in our lives? And how do we want to express the labor that it takes? There were a lot of folks that go before us that did a lot of work for better working conditions, to get our children out of factories. There's still work on the planet to be done around all of that. And I'm not here to make a political statement. Do I think that God has an opinion about the well-being of our workers in America? Do I think that God has an opinion of how long a workday should be? Not really. But I do believe that Spirit sees it all surrounded in light and an expression of God. And what if we approached our work from there? What if everything truly was holy now? What would it look like to set that chair in the room? What would it look like to make that chair? If everything became a mindful meditation, not just work. I remember I was sitting with my stepchildren and there was a baseball game and I was going to have to miss it because, as I shared with the children, I have to go to work. And I heard that come out of my mouth several times, and I realized what was happening in that moment. Work is something that deprives us of where we want to go and what we want to do. Work is something that separates me from my family. Work is something that you, my young one, are going to get to do someday. And I thought, that needs to shift. Now that didn't come to me on Wednesday. That was one of those 4:15 a.m. thoughts this morning. That needed to shift so that my children could go out into the world and see the labors of their hands and their minds as holy. Everything is holy now. And what if we approached everything we did from that place? I wonder what that conversation would look like about minimum wage and what people are worth per hour, if we considered that what they do is holy. But it has to start right here. We have to see the efforts that we manifest and that we put forth as holy. Now, those of you in this room who are fortunate enough to be retired, and I say that because I've never been retired, so I assume it's a really joyful thing. Your work is not done, so you're just not getting off that easy. Are you breathing? If you're breathing, you still have work to do. And if you consider all the effort that has gone before you, that is manifesting in your life right now, the beauty is that may translate into a retirement fund. That may translate into time with your loved ones. All that effort did not go unnoticed by the universe. And you were manifesting and living that which you have put forth before this moment. So everything is holy now. Everything. And what would it look like in this world if everything that was produced had been produced from a place of holiness? I suspect there might be some things we wouldn't make on this planet. I suspect there wouldn't be a need for so much security. And I'm not saying we don't need it. But what if everything was produced from a place of being holy? What if our only job was to show up and not have to go to work or not have to accomplish that, but that we get to? We get to go to work today. I feel that way. I feel that way. And I only have 3 little jobs. I get to go to work. I get to be the expression that God calls me into in a given moment. Now, as a minister and as a hospice chaplain, that seems a little more natural, doesn't it, than a guy who's digging a ditch, or somebody that's putting a roof on a building, or somebody that's laying the floor. But what if our consciousness could shift that it was all the work of God? Because I've got a question for you. Where is God right now? Where's God? Everywhere. Everywhere. Within and all around us. So how could any of the effort that we're doing not be the work of God? We are that expression. Everything about us, everything we create, everything that we touch, we get to touch with the hands of holiness, because that's who we are. That's who you are. Now, hard work is a prison sentence only if it does not have meaning. Once it has meaning, it becomes the kind of thing that makes you grab your partner around the waist and dance a jig. When it has meaning, Malcolm Gladwell shared that with us. And when we move into a place of recognizing that all that we are doing is holy, it would be pretty tough to not see the things that we do having meaning. And if you find at the end of the day, when you lay your little head on the pillow, and you think, gosh, I wasted a lot of time today. Gosh, I didn't get everything done on that checklist. Am I the only one that has that checklist? Take a breath and realize the holiness of everything you did that day. How would you feel about getting up the next morning? Setting that alarm thinking, oh, I just didn't have to get up quite so early. Maybe it would be, I get to get up that early because I get to be in a place of holiness and I get to produce things that make a difference in the world and I get to make a difference and I get to show up and I get to go to work. Now, in this movement, we talk about our internal work a lot. We talk about doing our work. And it's interesting to me that we talk about our spiritual growth as work when so many times the word work has a negative connotation. It separates us from our family. It denies us of the places we want to go. It doesn't allow us to be where we want to be in a given moment. I offer this to you. We get to do our spiritual work. Welcome to the club that is awake enough to want to do it. And thanks for being here this morning to be the place that you wanted to check that out. But wherever that is, you are that expression, and you are forever doing God's work because you just can't not. What would, just for a moment with me, close your eyes. I want you to imagine one place in your life that if you considered it holy and your participation in it as God's work, what would it look like? What world would we be living in? How could it be different? In Catholicism, they talk about diligence, and they use that word with work ethic. And diligence is one of the 7 heavenly virtues. And I thought that's perfect, because everything's holy. Diligence, work ethic, showing up, putting your hands to task, putting your mind to work. This is a heavenly virtue. Whatever you think of heaven, I'm in heaven. You guys are here with me, did you know? And the diligence of putting our hands to task so that we can be a greater expression and model for those around us that work is holy, that labor is holy. And what about, from the scriptures, they tell us that everything God creates is in and of itself good. Work done well brings a sense of connection. The Buddhist approach to work is this. We see activity as an opportunity to learn and expand our consciousness. There are dirty dishes in the sink. Welcome to your next level of consciousness, I would tell my children. Even with simple or repetitive tasks, the Buddhist reminds us to appraise the work for the difference it makes and for the presence it brings. So I was getting my head wrapped around this Labor Day thing, and I realized I'll bet our productivity level goes up exponentially when we work from a place of joy. I'll bet our quality and our ability to show up with the best product that we have the opportunity to create goes up when we focus on the work at hand and infuse it with love and joy and presence. Maybe our only work is that. Maybe it just happens to show up as a chair. But the energy that the universe does not allow to go unnoticed is manifested in such a way that that chair makes a difference. I've shared this story with some of you. When I was director of operations at a large unity, I was having trouble with my facilities guys, and chairs just weren't getting put where they were supposed to get put because it just didn't seem important to them in those classrooms. People can straighten the chairs out themselves. So I took them in a room and I introduced them to what it would look like if they came to that room to take a class. And I asked them to just sit in a chair, and they did. And I said, and in that chair, you have a life-transforming experience. Everything in your life shifts in that moment, in that class, in that chair. How do you feel about the effort of placing that chair now? With holiness, with joy. I remember Edwin Gaines saying, be grateful, be grateful. And she would say, taking out the kitty litter, being grateful. Our work is a joy. Our work is an opportunity. Our work is a gift to ourselves and to this world. Be mindful in all that you do. Approach it with joy and expression. Be loving in your approach. Because maybe that's all that chair is about. That somebody feels loved and supported. We just get to spread that over the planet, one chair at a time. Happy Labor Day. Namaste.
Thank you.